Hello and welcome. This is Omar Torres, and you're listening to Pop Therapy, a podcast that explores the intersection between psychology and pop culture. There's so much to unpack. So join me and let's get started. Well, look who's back for another episode. Hi, it's me, Omar, your friendly neighborhood therapist. Let's dive right in. So two things that I had in mind. One, and I want to get y'all's feedback on this. I want to start talking just a little bit because I'm not a political journalist or a political analyst by any means, but I am a human being who's impacted by politics, obviously. So I do have some thoughts on the matter. And I was thinking of spending a little bit of time talking about the things that most Americans agree on. There's so much discourse right now in media about how polarized we are and about how divided we are. And I have this sneaking suspicion that we are not as divided as we think we are, that we aren't actually as polarized as we think we are. And I have a sneaking suspicion, and I have some data to back this up, that most of us actually agree on a lot of the issues. So, I think it's important to, of course, address or at least acknowledge the things that do divide us and some of the stark differences between varying political opinions. I get that, and I understand there's room for that. However, I don't think there's enough conversation about the stuff that we actually agree on the stuff that most of us actually agree on, and that maybe we're more united than we think we are, and that perhaps there is a benefit or it serves some very, very influential and powerful people to have us believe that your neighbor is your enemy, to have us believe that we are incredibly divided, to have us believe that we're essentially at a stalemate, right? I think perhaps it serves some people on the top to have us fighting with each other. So that is why I wanted to talk a little bit about one piece of legislation, one issue that actually, take a look at these numbers. 9 out of 10 Americans agree on this issue. Let's break it down between Republican constituents and Democratic constituents. There's an 88% approval rate amongst Republican constituents around this particular piece of legislation, and an 87% approval rating among Democratic constituents. These numbers are massive. It's the overwhelming majority. You know what I mean? 9 out of 10 Americans, 88% among approval rating among Republicans, 87% approval rating among Democratic constituents. These are really, really big numbers. And the issue is stock trading bans. There is an overwhelming consensus, among all of us Americans that politicians should be banned from trading stocks. And not only politicians, but their cabinet, the people that work for them, their family members, their immediate family members, rather, that all of those individuals should be banned from trading stocks. And this information comes from my friend Nathan June's Instagram post. He posted about this recently, and it inspired me. But think about those numbers and just take a minute to sort of appreciate the fact that no matter what's going on, right, no matter what the news tells you, or no matter what, not even just the news, no matter what the world of media is telling you, whether it's on Facebook, or whether it's what you are seeing on TikTok or what have you, no matter what, there are all these issues that so many of us agree on, and this is one. And I think it's important to take a minute to just acknowledge that, oh, wow, we might disagree on lots of other things, sure, but we're not actually all that divided when it comes to stock trading bans for our politicians. And just think about what that means, right? Like, think about the implications of that, that most of us, Republican, Democrat, actually agree that politicians shouldn't be allowed to trade stocks, that there are concerns around that, around like corruption and making money and insider trading, and that most of us agree politicians should not be able to get rich quick. They shouldn't be able to, make a gajillion dollars while the rest of us are struggling, while they are supposed to be serving us, while they're supposed to be helping us out. And I think that's kind of beautiful that we all agree, right? That there's like a certain level of corruption that we obviously don't want in our politics, and that there's a certain level of money that we don't want in our politics. Again, regardless of whether you're Republican or Democrat, it is near unanimous that this is something we all agree on. Let me know if this is helpful. I'd be curious to get some feedback, because I think for me, it's helpful to think about it and to think about the implications and to think about like what that means exactly, because media outlets would have us believe otherwise, that there is nothing that we can agree upon. And again, I have many more issues with similar numbers, and I think you'll all be pleasantly surprised. The next thing I wanted to chat about for 2 minutes. Don't time me, but it's 2 minutes. Like a couple minutes. So apparently there's like a Chapel Roan controversy going on, and against my better judgment, I just really wanted to do a quick 5-second Google search on like, wait, what's going on? What's happening here? And I got to tell you guys, I mean, if you're curious to know, just to like know, like, oh, wait, what's going on? I totally understand the curiosity. If you haven't looked it up yet, or if you haven't heard about it yet, do yourself a favor. It's so, I don't know. I find it I don't want to sound judgmental. I think it's silly, folks. I think it's really, really silly. Maybe not necessarily what happened, but our response to it. And I'm gonna pull a Carrie Bradshaw here, Sex and the City reference, and just like that, a Sex and the City reference. I couldn't, my guest is laughing. I couldn't help but wonder if we all led lives with like dignity, if we all just like had everything that we needed, if we lived in a country or in a world where all of its citizens, all of the people were able to live dignified lives, where they had everything that they needed. They had a government that worked for them. They had rights, they had food, they had housing. They were able to pursue things that they enjoyed and loved. They were able to, go to work and make a good living and maybe own a house and travel a little bit and have excellent, affordable health care. And I just can't help but wonder that if we had all those things, would we care as much about what celebrities were doing? And this is purely just out of my own ass. This is just a guess. I have no idea. But I think the answer is no. I truly believe that if we lived in a world where we had everything that we needed, and we had a government that actually worked for us and provided for us with our tax dollars, by the way, not like, we are paying for these services, but if all of our tax dollars actually went to helping us out, helping us live full, dignified lives, I really, truly believe that celebrity news and celebrity gossip just like would not hit the same. I think we just wouldn't care as much. So, if you haven't already, just don't even bother looking into the Chapel Roan thing. Now, that's not to say that I don't think that it's not worth some form of analysis. And there are pop culture people out there and, journalists and talking heads and writers and whatnot that are going to get into what this means about culture at large, or what this means about us as a people at large. And I think that there's room for that. I am interested in that. Like, what does it reflect about our society that there's all this backlash or uproar or attention on Chapel Roan and some incident that I swear to you could not matter less. When I Googled real quick what happened, I was just like, wait, this is what all the fuss is about? No one got hurt. No one died. No one's sick. No, like nothing could matter less. So if and when it comes across your desk, your screen rather, I just want you to take a minute and exercise a little bit of the rage bait desensitizing work we've been doing. Just before you immediately react or respond, just take a minute to be aware of what comes up for you. So whatever it is that you hear, whatever opinion it is, what have you, right? Just before you react, before you type out a respond and hit send or whatever, just take a minute and ask yourself, what's coming up for me right now? Do that first before you respond. And I just think that is, I don't know, y'all. I just don't want you to be enslaved by, I don't want your brains to be enslaved by rage bait and outrageous, salacious, sensationalized headlines and news. Do not do a deep dive on this topic. I promise you, your life will be better for it. Do a deep dive on, like, I don't know, the history of the stop sign. I think that could be kind of cool. Who invented the stop sign? I think you might be kind of interested to find out. Do a deep dive on who invented the gas mask. It's a fascinating history that is way more interesting, way more enriching than what the hell Chapel Roan or her security guard did at some fucking soccer game. Pardon my French. Okay, now that I got that off my chest, I can actually segue into what's, I can promise you, will be a lovely, lovely chat and lovely discussion. I'm so happy to have this next guest on. You can currently see him on the Broadway, not the Broadway, obviously. I'm kidding. I know it's called Broadway, but on Broadway. He is currently starring in The Great Gatsby. Is it on Great Gatsby? No, he's currently starring in Great Gatsby, right? That's like the grammatically correct way to say. Okay, yeah, he's currently starring in Great Gatsby. Please welcome star of stage and screen, Dan Rosales. Hi.
Hi.
Thank you for giggling in the background. I really, that helped hype me up a little.
Yes. I didn't know. I was like, wait, I agree with everything you're saying. I need that. I need that debrief. I need it.
Thank you.
I was like, yes.
So I actually, since you're here, what do you think about the idea that I brought up about how I have a sneaking suspicion that the media makes us Americans out to be way more divided than we actually are? Does that make sense to you? Do you see some of that?
Absolutely.
What do you think?
I 100% agree. I think the start of like the decline in social humanity started with the 24-hour news cycle, when everything was just on all the time and everyone got information all the time, because, discourse sells and division sells more than peace and acceptance and happiness, and everything's fine, because the second that you tell someone that something is wrong, the more tuned in they are. They're like, well, what's wrong? How wrong is it? How long is it going to be wrong for?
And should I be worried? Right? Like, what should I do? Should I be worried?
Yeah. So it's so true. I mean, the division sells more, views and clicks than. I agree with you. I mean, also hearing the stats on like the numbers of how much we agree on something like insider trading or Senate trading or whatever it is. Absolutely. There's that one quote that, is overplayed, but it's pay the senators and the Congress people what teachers make or
Oh my
minimum wage
God.
salary and see how quickly the minimum
Yeah.
wage increases, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
It's like, what
That
are
is
we
so
doing?
true. Yeah.
But also, to any savvy financial listeners that are listening to this podcast, there is an app called Autopilot that allows you to trade what the senators are trading, and you can make as much money as they do. So what they do is they follow.
Wait, I'm
There's
literally
something
writing
called
that down. I think
Autopilot,
I've
and it has.
heard of
It's
not
great.
not this app Autopilot, but I have heard of people basically looking at like Nancy Pelosi's portfolio and being like, edit,
That's
copy,
literally
paste.
what I have.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I'm like,
She's not doing well right now, so I'm down 10% on that.
get
But
your shit
let me
together,
tell you that
Nancy.
the World War III tracker is really, it's got me 40% up, which is terrifying.
That's so
but
scary.
if these people are gonna do it, why can't we? Why can't we play the system the way they
no,
can?
I totally get that. It's again, especially living in a world where no one feels like government works for them. And so I completely understand the rationale behind like, okay, well, I'm going to like do what I can. I'm going to like try to get as financially secure and stable as I can. So I'll play the system as well. Yeah, no, I get that.
Listen, it's worth it. Autopilot, I will say.
Okay, good to know.
Because it just shows you the things that they will never show you themselves. The one lucky quote unquote thing that we have going on about that sort of trading is that most of it is it's available knowledge. I wouldn't say it's transparent knowledge of what and when they're trading, but most of the time there is a record of how many stocks they have, how many shares they have of what. So you can't, that's how these algorithms are built on like what type of investments, commodities they trade and when.
So it is based on like actual information that's out there. It exists. It's not just someone being like, I think Nancy really likes this.
Yeah,
stock.
this pantsuit tweed. Yeah, no, absolutely not. Yeah.
I think she's buying 100 shares of pantsuittweed.com. No, it's not that. Okay, fine.
No. But it's good. No, I mean, you're so right, though. I mean, there are more things that unite us. And I think at the end of the day, everyone just wants to feel protected and safe and happy and not encroached upon. But you couldn't tell that by watching the news anymore.
By watching the news or logging on to the socials.
Everyone's in a civil war right now, whether it's you on Chapel's side or that little girl's side of the soccer match. I'm like, what are we doing? What are we doing? Who cares?
So you've heard this. I'm assuming because you just said stuff that I was like, oh right, soccer. That you heard about this, right? Yeah. I know I sound like a broken record. I really, truly, in my heart of hearts, believe that if everyone had everything they needed from their government, from their country, that we would be like, I don't care. I just booked a safari somewhere, or I don't care. I have a spa day that I booked. Like, I don't give a shit. You know what I mean? Or I don't care. I have to get my appendix removed. Like, I just like.
I have to go to fucking work. Excuse me. I have to go
to
while you're having this $1,000 brunch, I made that up. Whatever, I have to go to work.
Right.
Like, I don't care. I don't care. I don't know why we care. We're idolizing these celebrities in a way. Here's the thing. I appreciate some sort of celebrity. Like, I like knowing what my favorite actors are up to. I don't need to know necessarily what they're doing all the time, but it's fun to see them out and about living a life that, it's like, oh, stars, they're just like us. What is that People magazine thing? I'm like, that's fun.
Yes.
Maybe a little, bit of an invasion of privacy, but I don't need to know this in-depth detail that this billionaire soccer star's daughter went to go across the table to look at her favorite artist, smile at her, and then come back and then have the security team, unbeknownst to Chapel Roan, chew out the daughter of a billionaire or multimillionaire. And I'm like, you're at a hotel 99.9% of us could never afford. Right. So why are we so invested in this? Because we like the drama? Because it ties back into this media thing of like this division sells?
100%. Yes. So what I find fascinating is that there are there are all these right-wing media influencers like a Candace Owens who it's not like she is only talking politics, or like even like a Ben Shapiro. They're not just talking politics 24/7. They actually often discuss pop culture topics just like this. Like they'll weigh in on the Blake Lively and what's his face scandal, and they'll weigh in on the Chaperone and whatever this 11-year-old girl's name is. They'll weigh in on the Sydney Sweeney commercial. Like they'll weigh in on all these pop culture topics and themes, and in a very like clever and intentional way, sort of tie those pop culture topics back to right-wing talking points and themes and ideologies and values. And so I'm like suspicious of folks because of that often. Not everybody, of course, but I'm always like, what are you getting out of this? What are you getting out of bashing Chapel Roan? Like, what is this about? What is this for? But yeah, I'm just like, I really could not care less. And again, this is not including folks who are going to do the work that I find interesting, which is to ask, what does this mean about us as a culture? That we, put this woman on a pedestal. Chapel was everywhere. Huge success. And then something like this happens. And apparently the backlash is like so severe.
Right.
And I'm like, yeah, that is interesting.
Yeah. It's like, it's fascinating to see too. Also, I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I just want to put that out there. I am not a conspiracy theorist.
We're off to a great great way to start. But
I think the moon landing was real. Listen, I'm thrilled about Artemis 2. They're just circling the moon right now, which is very exciting. They're in the moon's orbit. But there's something to be said about who owns the conglomerate of these media companies and why the top listened podcasters are people like Joe Rogan, Tucker Carlson, that other old white dinosaur that I'm forgetting his name, but he has like millions and millions of followers. And the type of stuff that they produce and put out is so easily consumable because the parent company and these billionaires that own them want that to be pushed out to the forefront. So it's like, I'm not saying it's all connected, but it's all connected.
It's all right.
We are watching and being told to watch what they want us to watch. And that sounds like Big Brother. I don't really think the government's in our, the FBI agent in my laptop is not really watching me. You know what I mean?
Right. But and if they are, you're welcome.
You're welcome.
You're welcome for the show, bitch. In my sick head, I've thought about this before, and in my sick head, I have this scenario. It's not a daydream. It's not like it's not like a wish of mine, but it's this like sick like scenario in my head where there's this
Where is this going?
Yeah, I know you're like, Omar, you're scaring me, girl. Where there's this FBI agent who's in charge of just like watching people's laptops, right? Like let's say the rumors are true.
Right.
And he's been assigned, he's like just like going through his like Rolodex of like, oh, let me check up on Beth. What is she doing? Okay, she's at work. Let me check up on Josh. Okay. And then he sees me immediately enamored of me. And he doesn't know why. Yes,
of course.
He's like, he can't stop. He's always logging in all these
taking
hours. Taking
Mr.
notes.
Torres.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Omar Googled Hulu canceling the Buffy reboot for the 700th time today. And he's just telling, and he's like totally engulfed. He's like oddly attracted to me, but he's like a wife and kids. Like he doesn't get it. And he's
there's
just
a je ne sais quoi to your spirit that he's drawn to. Yeah.
And it's like part of what's really thrilling him is that he doesn't understand what's happening to his own body, but he's just obsessed with me and he has to only watch me. And his coworker is like, hey man, like you are really like, I see you're like only like looking at Omar's laptop. You have like a whole list of other people. He's like, leave me alone. I know what I'm doing. I know how to do my job. Don't tell me how to do my job. And this is like whole drama in the office, all because he's enamored of me. Anyway,
I'm kind of obsessed with this. Wait, hold on. I think you need to write this. I think you need to write this series, and it stars you and maybe like a very salt and peppery Jake Gyllenhaal or something. And I think there's like a tryst that happens.
Wait, I love that. Can we make it more? Can we make it like a Michael B. Jordan? Actually, the FBI agent.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I would really like Michael B. Jordan or a Pedro Pascal. But Michael B. Jordan he would get offer only. He would not have to audition.
Yes. Yeah. And Pedro needs a tape, but just like really
I just want to see a tape, not because
just like
I don't
a chemistry read. Yeah, no, of course.
Thank you. Yeah. You're in the business. You understand.
Listen, I know. I get it. I
just know me and Michael will have the chemistry, so we don't need to do a chemistry.
I think you would hit it out the park, but it's always good to have a backup for scheduling. So,
So anyway,
Omar, I would watch the show though. Hold on. Like, let's get back to this show. I think it would be great for cameos. I think it would be really funny. It could be like a serial drama, serial comedy. I'm into it.
Agreed. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you so much. So see, people, this is what you can be doing with your brain when you're not consuming Chappell Roan.
Listen, Chappell Roan's going to eat her $300 eggs no matter what.
She will be fine.
Yes,
exactly.
She'll be good.
And that little 11-year-old girl will also be fine. She will get a Mercedes. She'll get a Land Rover for her 12th birthday. She's fine. Chappell's fine.
We're upset her feelings got hurt, but she's crying in her Chanel suit. So, it's okay.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, she's crying like she gets to go home to her wing, the wing of her house, and cry about it. So I'm like, you're all set, girl. You're good. The girls are fine. They're all fine.
The girls are fighting, but they're fine.
But they're fine. Yeah. Yeah. And when you're not consuming that stuff, you can come up with really fun, imaginative scenarios, like an FBI agent becoming obsessed with you.
Michael B. Jordan wins his first Emmy for this show. So
exactly. Speaking of celebrity, so you're on Great Gatsby, but I want to rewind. I want you to take us back. I want to hear about little Daniel Rosales as a little boy growing up in, I believe, Southern California. Am I right? Southern California.
Uh-huh.
I'm really curious to hear about from you, of course. What was he like as a little boy? Take us back.
I was so shy as a kid, like super, super shy. Always quiet, never really cried as a kid. My mom always said, she's like, you never cry. You were just like fine all the time.
Interesting.
And I was like, that's weird because now I cry all the time. Like there's,
I can't get enough of stuff now.
Give it to me. You got any more of that crying? My friend Rachel and I joke that like literally at the drop of a hat, like there's a new news story, like they found a dolphin, and it's like I'm crying, I'm like, the dolphin got found. Yes, exactly. But I was so shy and just a very quiet kid, and like coming into like theater was kind of like an accident because as a child of divorce.
I hear that. Amen.
I know.
Amen.
I know her well. Amen, sister.
I'm familiar.
I know that. I had to choose an after-school program because my mom, was a single working mother, and my dad was working and couldn't pick me up because the courts are weird and the stuff and the designated.
There were like rules and
yes, which is so don't even get me started.
Yeah.
So I was put into a drama program in my elementary school, and we did a spoof musical called Let's Talk About Cheese that was a spoof of the Spice Girls, like super group, the girl group.
Yeah.
And I was their manager, Mr. Provolone. I still remember the name. So it was the Spice Girls, but it was the cheese girls. Like there were all types of cheese, like Gouda and like cheddar, and it was nuts.
Now this is the kind of IP that I have been begging
That's what I'm saying.
for. I thought I was going to hear, oh, yeah, in fifth grade, we put on a production of Rent or something like that. Wait, I'm obsessed with Let's Talk About Cheese. I know.
Listen, let's talk about cheese. Mr. Provolone was their man. And I remember I had this scene. I must have been like, I don't know, 7, 8 years old or something. I had this scene where I had to come in and be like, you girls, the concert must go on. You know, I don't know, some fucking really dramatic stuff that only a 7-year-old could say with absolutely monotone delivery. And it was fun, and it was like kind of forced into that realm because it was the only after school program that was available at the time at my elementary school. And then I got to middle school, still quiet, still fine, but I had to choose a pre-school program, morning program, and an after-school program because you know the divorce. So I chose at first. So I went to the office my first day of 6th grade, and the really fun, jovial office ladies were, they have like size triple F boobs, and you're just like, what's, you're like, you know what I'm talking, exactly the type of
they're the heart and soul of the school. Yes,
exactly,
100%. They know all the secrets. They know all the drama,
all the tea, honey.
Yes, they do. They run that ship. They run that ship.
Absolutely.
Yes, I know exactly who you're talking about. Yeah.
So I think Mrs. Higgins was her name. I think it was Mrs. Higgins. So she tells me, she's like, these are the 2 programs we have after school. One was choir. It was like a pre and post school thing. And the second one was color guard. Now, mind you, the way color guard was explained to me in that office by that woman.
By Miss Higgins herself.
By Miss Higgins herself. Was like, yeah, I think you and a couple of the boys get to run around and like play pretend with guns. And so at that point, guns weren't as scary as they are now. You know what I mean? I was like, oh, is it like paintball? Is it like, airsoft or something? And I was like, that sounds fun. I'll go do that. So she signed me up for color guard. I was like, why is it called color guard?
She got your ass.
She got my fucking ass. Listen, I show up to the first day of color guard after my first day of 6th grade in middle school. So I looked like, I don't know, the toddler version of Shrek probably. Right. And just walking up to the field after school behind the school, and all I see to me was like this 7-foot tall women, because of course girls go through puberty before the guys, right? So there were these tall
and
girls.
It wasn't just 6th graders, I'm assuming, right?
No,
or was it,
6th through 8th grade.
So you were so they were towering over you. Yes,
towering.
Yeah, got
Not only towering, but then they were waving these fucking flags.
Yeah,
like it was World War II, honey, and they were like, telling the boats to come in, whatever they were doing. I will never, it was like an out of body experience. I remember sitting at the foot of the cement where the cement touches the grass, and I'm looking at like 20 to 30, mostly overweight, really tall girls and me.
Yeah.
And I was like, I can't do this. I was so intimidated. And no knock on them. They were doing some incredible stuff, and they have more heart and guts than I did in that moment, because I was
that
so
shit looks hard as hell. I'll tell you that much. I'll tell you that much. But you're looking there being like, wait a minute, when does the paintball start?
And I was like, excuse me, I was told there would be guns. Which sounds terrible to say now in 2026. I'm so sorry. Yeah. That sounds awful to say. But you have to know, it was the early 2000s. Like, it was, there was stuff going on.
And
like,
you were thinking like paintball guns.
Yes,
you were
in 6th grade.
Where's my rifle? You were
I'm
exactly.
sorry, AK-47.
Yeah.
No, sorry, that's terrible. Don't say that.
I was promised a rifle. Yeah, you were. I totally get it. Yeah, I get it.
So I was like, well, I am not doing this.
Right.
And I went back to that damn office, and I was like, sign me up for choir. And so I did, and I switched that day, and immediately I was thrown into the after school, like it was a combo, like choir, drama program. I think my first musical was Leader of the Pack, which was like a 50s, 60s jukebox extravaganza. And I
Oh.
have a picture of all of us in these like Goodwill suits that are like adult men Goodwill suit sizes. So we all look
Oh,
like,
so you're all drowning in
yes.
the suits.
And then it kind of stuck. And then I just kind of kept doing it. And, I did it in high school and then started auditioning for stuff like professionally. And then my drama teacher was like, you should go actually do this. Because at one point, my mom was like, you should be a lawyer, which she still says to this day.
She hasn't given up hope.
Like, no, she hasn't. She's like, so
You're
after
like,
Broadway,
I'll
you're going to go
play
to
a
law school.
lawyer
I'm like,
on TV.
yeah,
or
hello?
movie.
Hello? Yeah, when I buy you your house, like,
Yeah,
relax,
yeah.
okay? Anyway, no, I weirdly was obsessed with like dentistry, and which is also kind of a glimpse into the mind of like how weird of a kid I was because I was quiet.
Well, your teeth are phenomenal. You have great teeth.
You. Thank you. I've never had braces. That's my claim to fame.
Shut up.
Never had braces, but don't look too close because my bottom teeth are a little crooked. But I loved going to the dentist as a kid. Like to the point where the dentist was like, hey, when you turn 18, like you can have a job as like an assistant or like work in the office.
Oh my God. Oh, damn. So it was palpable.
It was palpable. I could feel the floss in my fingers. I was like, oh my God, dentistry.
Wait,
and
I love that the dentist picked up on your intense passion so much so that he's like, you can just work here. Relax. Just when you turn 18, you can get a job here. Chill out.
Crazy
That's
for a kid
so
to feel
funny.
that passionate about canines and molars and all of this stuff. But I just ended up, sticking with the drama thing and the school stuff and working professionally in my hometown at the biggest theater there, which all of the big national tours came through. But I was never like the funny thing is I was never like a big Broadway kid. Like I very rarely listened to musicals, although I did celebrate my 17th birthday by going to see the Rent movie with a group of friends. So if you couldn't tell I was gay then, now you can tell. But it was just like of the time because the Rent movie just came out and it was like everyone was doing everything. It was like High School Musical had just come out.
Right.
Which is also crazy now, full circle, that Corbin Bleu is now in our show in The Great Gatsby.
Oh, wow. Oh, that's so cool.
As Nick Carraway. Yeah. So it's like a weird like landmark of like my youth. But then getting to be friends with him and like it's just kind of a mind.
Right. And was that around I'm not sure if I'm placing this in time accurately, but that was also around like Glee? Was that like Glee time too? That was I
think so. I think
totally
Glee came out maybe like a couple years after.
Okay.
I almost said American Horror Story. Oh no. What's it called? High School Musical.
I mean, interchangeable.
Wait,
obviously,
yes.
Totally interchangeable.
Ryan Murphy does American Horror Story, High School Musical, the series. Yes. Oh wow!
But I remember that time in culture when this is. I'm making myself up. This is gonna sound so insane, but I'm gonna let you know what I was originally going to say, and then I'm going to tell you what I mean. But I was going to say I remember that time in culture when it was like all about singing. Like, what an interesting take, Omar. What
Omar, you're so right.
Take. But I feel like there was a time when it was just like singing.
Yes, no, it's hilarious to say it that way but you're so true.
But you know what I mean. Okay.
American Idol was the biggest thing to ever happen to like American families. And I remember vividly like sitting on the couch in our living room and it was the end and it was Justin and Kelly and who was going to win.
Right.
And then Kelly Clarkson won and she sang A Moment Like This and it was the biggest thing in the world. Like the first time like America was like calling in and like voting and being interactive.
Yeah.
It was a
and
little like the Hunger Games
was huge. Yes, it was very much like the Hunger Games. And like to your point, American I was gonna say American Horror Story.
American Horror Story.
No, High School Musical. High School Musical was huge, and then I'm thinking of Glee, and that was a massive hit, and then Rent and like musical movies like Chicago and Rent and like
So
those movies were like huge box office hits. So that's what I mean by like there's something in the air. Like singing made a huge comeback.
Listen,
it was everywhere you went. Singing was everywhere.
Singing was everywhere. Singing does not pay the bills. Singing does not put food on the table. Oh God, Sister Act 2.
Sister
if
Act
you know,
2.
you know. It's the best. It's the best.
But yes, I do. So my question for you was, so it's not as though you grew up as a young kid when you were quiet, never crying, watching a ton of musicals or plays, or that wasn't your experience growing up necessarily. Is that right?
No,
and it was more so when you had to choose an after school program and or a before school program, you sort of like fell into it that way.
Yeah.
And
it was
so
very accidental. Yeah.
When you discovered it accidentally, was it an immediate like, I fucking love this? Or was it a slow burn for you? Was it like, yeah, the first date was nice, I'm going to do a second date, we'll see how it goes? Or were you like, no, he's the one?
I think it was very slow burny, because I know this now, even as like an adult, is that I still do things the way that I think that they should be done. And we can dive into that in a later day, but I was like, we unpack that some. But like, I was like, okay, well, I show up to choir, and then this is how it's done, and then this is what I sing, and then this is what they sing. And it was very like, piecemeal, like matter of fact. Like,
kind of.
This is how it works. But I wasn't necessarily bitten by like a bug, and I was like, "Oh my God, I'm holding bike handles. That's supposed to be a motorcycle. I've got to do this for life," No, it was like, this is my after school program. This is leader of the pack. Here's my motorcycle, and I'm doing the thing.
Right.
It wasn't really until I got to high school that I started. They call it the pay to plays, right? So it's like the summer program.
Okay,
and you like.
Gotcha.
Your parents pay for you to be in the musical.
I see.
And I just happened to be getting the leads of the musicals, which was fun for me because I was thrust into the spotlight in a way that I hadn't been previously in like these after school programs or before school programs.
Wow.
And
were you trying out for lead roles, or were you trying out and they were like, you should be the lead?
It was a mix of both. Like,
okay,
I think I just like came in and sang once, and they were like, "Oh, interesting. That's
Singing's
weird."
back.
Singing is so back.
They heard you. They said, "Singing's back, bitch."
Singing back. Yes, exactly. So
wait, that is so cool. I mean, I'm trying to put myself in your shoes. To be a teenager and to like, let's say, just try out for something, to open your mouth and try out, and to then be told like, oh, you should be the lead. My head would be so big. Like I mean, I would also be terrified, but initially I would be like, oh shit. Like, did you have an awareness or a sense of, oh, I'm good at this? Like, did that enter your psychology at that point, or was it or was it much later?
No, that came much later. Honestly, that didn't really get to my brain, and not in an egotistical way, but until like I got to college, like probably my sophomore year of college, I was like, oh no, this is I'm good at this. Like I'm really good at this.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's like the self-saboteur, whatever drag race, analogy you want to use in there. But like I just knew, because I was so quiet and did things, I'm using air quotes, you can't see me, people who are listening, but did things the way they're supposed to be done. I had kind of that building block foundation that when I got to that point, I was like, oh, I've done this before for actually years. So I don't really feel nervous. I don't really feel scared. Of course, nothing will ever be scarier than singing live in front of your high school peers.
Damn.
Especially like older upperclassmen when you're like a sophomore or something. That is still the most terrifying, I think, performance
you couldn't pay me
that
enough.
I've ever done. No, absolutely not. No. But it was kind of just like built up in the right way that when I got to that point, I was like, oh, yeah, this feels right. And not in an egotistical way, like I'm the best, I'm the lead. It was still very much like, I don't know, I'm doing this, me?
Yeah.
You know?
Okay. I see.
I was
Yeah.
like,
Yeah. Yeah.
I guess I'll try, you know?
Right.
So
Right. So were you like, it sounds like you were very much like a rule follower growing up. Is
yes.
that how you would?
I still am, and Patrick makes fun of me all the time for it. And he's like,
Patrick,
"Why don't
shout
we
out,
just?"
babe.
I know, shout out, love you so much. He's like, "Why don't we just ask them if we can do X, Y, and Z?" And I'm like, "Well, they said that we should wait and send an email first, or something like that." I'm like, "Well, they need all this information first." And I don't know
Right.
why I like get in. I put myself behind myself before I'm like take one foot, if that makes any
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I'm
Yeah.
like,
I get
"Oh
you.
yeah, why don't we just ask?" So
Right.
that's still something that I am.
You're
As
still
a
working
fully
on it.
my
It's
frontal
okay.
lobe is fully developed, but I'm still working on it.
It
I
is
am still working
okay.
on it.
And so then at what point, while you are singing and dancing and performing, at what point did theater and or Broadway as like a cultural reference, at what point did that enter your psychology as like oh, this is something I enjoy watching, or
Yeah.
this is something I need to study, or at what point did that enter the chat, as the kids say?
I mean, enter the chat. LOL. Help. We're so old. What's happening?
LOL, help. I love that.
Help. Help. Oh. Oh, this is a non sequitur. There's a 22-year-old that just joined the cast, or 23-year-old, and I think they're on their fourth Broadway show. And I'm like, oh, you're so young, but you're
Yeah.
so successful. Like, what's
Yeah.
happening?
Yeah.
Anyway, it didn't really enter as like pop culture, like lexicon, like until I got to college for it. So
Okay.
I went
Okay.
to a state school for a semester right after I graduated high school. That was an absolute mess. Shout out to Cal State Fullerton. You didn't know what you were doing. I went there for one semester, and it was the first year that they were developing their BFA program, which is a Bachelor of Fine Arts, like very, very concentrated in like fine arts, whether it's music, dance, or singing, or theater. And at that point, the school didn't know how to develop that program because it was in its infancy. Like literally the first week we were there was the first week they had ever done the program like this.
Holy moly.
So the curriculum was a mess. More than half of us didn't get into the classes that we needed to take to get that degree. And they were like, sorry, there's just no room. And I was like, so what are we doing here? Why am I wasting my time?
Right.
And why are you wasting my time and money? Because college is expensive, even if you're in state.
Right.
And so compounded with a lot of other things, the school also had no housing. Like it was a housing lottery to get into the dorms.
I see.
So you either got into the dorms or 50% didn't. And you have to figure out, and it's a huge school. It's like 16,000 people. Like it was giant.
Wowza.
Yes. And you had to kind of figure out where you lived in Fullerton, California. You find strangers that also didn't get housing. But at the time, one of my best friends in high school was going to a super uber ultra Christian university across the street from Cal State Fullerton called Hope International University.
Of course.
And he was like, hey, do you want me to ask if you can live at the university? And I was like, yes. Yeah. And so I had to apply to live for residency there and sign like a morality clause. It was a whole thing. It was nuts because they were like uber ultra Christian.
Right.
And I roomed with my best friend and I think 2 exchange students. And it was fine. Yeah. But that also that culture contributed to me being like, I got to go. This is not right for me. I have to leave, actually. This is not good for my mental health. It's not good for... Right. Because listen, honey, more times than one, shout out to the Christians that are actually loving, but more times than not, there were multiple times where people were like, so I'm picking up on something here. Like, let's go talk about Jesus. And I remember this guy one time who I had a crush on because, you know, there's something about like the youth ministry guys that play guitar and sing that are kind of hot. You know what I mean?
I get it.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my God, he wants to take me to Chipotle. Is this a date? Right. And I wasn't really out yet. Right. And he was like, so Christ, right? And I was like, oh, I gotta go.
Yeah. Check, please. Yeah.
I actually have to leave. So no, I ended up leaving that school and that university and I took a year at home going to a community college and just taking credits and performing professionally at the big regional theater that
Oh,
was there.
awesome.
And I worked with a bunch of, D-list celebrities that came and did their big
Hell
shows
yeah.
at
Hell
this
yeah.
big theater.
Who
I worked with
was yeah, I was
Debbie
just gonna
Gibson. I worked
wait,
with
that's so
Sally
cool.
Struthers.
Oh,
I
hell
worked
yeah.
with Derek Klena is now a big Broadway star. Who else did I work with? I worked with names are escaping me. But it was fun to be part of like
Yeah.
that type of group and
Yeah,
be
yeah,
like
yeah.
it was nice. And then I was like, oh, I can do this. Like
Okay.
I'm working, I'm being paid to do it. It's no longer
Right.
pay to play. Like they're
Right.
paying me to come and do this.
And what
And
made you decide? I'm assuming that was before Boston Conservatory. Is that
yes, yeah,
right?
yeah,
What
that was
made
right
you
before.
decide to do Boston Conservatory?
It was mostly reapplying to colleges was mostly guilt for my mom that was like, you have to go to college, you have to get a
Oh,
degree. And I was
okay.
like,
Okay.
fine, I'll get a degree.
Yeah, because I was gonna say
Yeah.
you were getting paid, so I it wouldn't have surprised me, and I would not have thought of it as being irresponsible or irrational if you were like, oh,
Hmm.
I'm getting paid, I'll just do this. I don't have to go back to school. Like I'm
Yeah.
already getting paid, and I'll just like continue working my way
Yeah.
up. Like I would be like, oh yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I was
Honestly,
curious.
I wish I had that wherewithal back then because, student loans are no joke.
Ugh, yeah.
But the only
Especially
reason that
Boston Conservatory,
oh
because that is
gosh,
a fancy,
it
fancy
is,
school. I
it
did a
is a
little bit of
fancy
Googling
school.
of that, and their
Mhm.
acceptance rate is like highly competitive. I was like, damn, Dan.
Yeah, it's crazy. And I luckily essentially got like I keep doing air quotes like people can
I
see me.
know, it's okay. I can see it, and so it's helping me
That's
out.
what
So
matters. Thank
that's
you.
okay.
I got, for all intents and purposes, a full ride to the school every
Okay.
year on scholarship.
Hmm.
But Boston is so expensive to live that the majority of my student loans
Mm.
are just living expenses for 4 years. Living expenses and like a
Oh.
meal plan. The
Yep.
meal plan for
Yep.
colleges is insane. It's
I
so
can only imagine.
expensive,
Yeah.
especially for a college in Massachusetts, in Boston, in like a major metropolis. It was nuts. Do I
How?
regret it? No, because like
Okay.
I've made best friends for life and family for life through that school.
Oh,
That
lovely.
we're going on, we met in 2009. It's been almost, 16 years, 17 years since
Yeah.
other. That's a lot of time of people
Right.
that have been in my life the longest, that know me better than I know myself. I know them
Mm,
likewise, similarly. It like I wouldn't trade that for the world. And being able to like grow up with them and now find this career success and see how different people define that success after that school
mhm.
is really beautiful, because for some of them it's going back to school for something entirely different, or
Yeah.
raising a family and doing it in a community theater setting, or some of us are still doing it very professionally.
Mhm.
And it's been really fulfilling to see us all go on our separate journeys and grow together.
Yeah. So it sounds, I was going to ask, how do you look back on now? How do you look back on your time at Boston Conservatory? And it sounds like you look back on it rather fondly. I mean, obviously you have
Yeah.
some notes about the financial part. You know what I mean?
Listen,
Like,
yeah.
I'm sure you're like, hey, I have some, is there a suggestion box I have for
I have
Boston
some, I
Conservatory?
have some tips.
Some ideas.
Yeah.
But it sounds like overall you do look back on that time quite fondly.
Yeah. I mean, it is, those schools are so rigorous. And
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think something that benefited me was because I was technically a transfer student, because I didn't come in right out of high school. So
Mhm.
I kind of
Mhm.
simmered for a little bit and then
Right.
came in. And it was, I think, crucial to the way that I treated the school, because I had just a little bit of a leg up of understanding how expensive it was, how crucial all the classes were.
Mhm.
And I kind of was just eating everything up. I was like, yes, tell me about this type of technique. Tell me about that. I'll take double
Mm.
dance every day, or I'll do this, and doing all these different shows that I could. So I'm glad that I went when I did and not when I was supposed to go, because I don't think I would have gotten as much out of it. but having just that little bit of separation, going to two other schools before I went to that
Yeah.
school,
Yeah.
and being like, oh, I should actually invest in this type of education if this is something that I want to do.
Yeah.
And I mean, it was brutal in a lot of ways.
It sounds like it.
They're
Again, the very little research I did, um, I read somewhere that Boston Conservatory prides itself, or their focus, rather, like their focus is on triple threats. That, you know, they basically trained everyone to be a singer, actor, and dancer. Not so much that people like specialized in one, but they were like, no, you're gonna be phenomenal at all three. You're gonna be a triple
or
threat.
else,
Or
literally,
else.
or
And
else.
I was just like,
Yes.
holy shit, that sounds
It's
intense.
And they had a cut program too. So like your spot was never guaranteed in the school. So a
God,
cut
so
program
stressful.
is like after your sophomore year, you have to essentially re-audition for the school for the entire faculty, for dance, for singing, and for acting. And it is
Oh my
so
God.
stressful. They're called promotionals. You either get promoted or you get put on probation or you get asked not to return. And some people were asked not to return after they invested 2 years of this really expensive ass school and of their time.
Oh
and
my God.
it was like militaristic. It was like you
Yeah.
had to prepare all of these juries. Your voice teacher had to write recommendations. It was like they call musical theater like the Olympics of Broadway's like the Olympics of theater. It was
Right.
very
Yeah.
much that of like you're training this all the time.
Especially
And,
musical
I mean,
theater. Like,
no,
I feel like
it's-
specifically that's
Which
like the
sounds insane
play-
because as a
plays-
medium, it's so silly, but like it's really, it's like, no, we're doing the musical, It's like,
that you bring up such an interesting like contrast, because musical theater is at least to me, I think to most people, but often comes across as very lighthearted, very romantic, very emotional, and just like very feeling, but like lighthearted at the same time. And then to hear about the rigor involved, to hear about how intense it is, and that not only do you guys have to train as athletes, like physically, like moving your body and blah, 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 but then also vocally having to like worry about that. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know, like, I'm trying to think of an athlete, but like Michael Jordan, I need a more up-to-date reference, but Michael
just
Jordan.
love Michael Jordan's, I think.
Oh my God. Yeah. Michael Jordan isn't, going to vocal lessons and having to schedule that into what I would imagine was like an intense physical training regimen. You know what I mean? And so I can see it's interesting to think about musical theater as being both this like, oh, that's so romantic. It's so lovely. It's so uplifting and joyous, but also so rigorous, so intense, so cutthroat.
It's very cutthroat. Yeah. I mean, it's like Black Swan, it's Center Stage, it's all those movies.
Yeah.
There's the famous clip, I think it's the Eagles, the Philadelphia Eagles, where they went to like a rigorous training of taking like ballet classes. They went and took ballet classes.
Yeah.
To help them cross train and see how these ballerinas and these dancers do it multiple times a week, oftentimes getting to class at like 7:30 in the morning, dancing until like 5 p.m. and then rehearsing for the show that they're doing and then doing the show. And it's crazy. I mean, the life is not for everyone.
It's not for the faint of heart.
Famously, Megan Thee Stallion is now in Moulin Rouge.
Oh, I didn't know that. Oh, that's so cool.
She's playing Harold Ziedler. So I love that movie. I mean, so that's okay. I'll say that was a pop culture thing in school, like in high school when that came out. I was like, oh, I love this movie. And I didn't really tie it to theater yet. I was just like, oh, that movie is so fun.
Disney, right? It was more like the Disney. Yeah.
It was the beautification, the Baz Luhrmann, beautiful singing. I was like, I know all these songs. Oh, it's so fun. It's so dramatic. It's so sad,
Okay.
But she's like the ringmaster of the Moulin Rouge, and she was just last week rushed to the hospital in the middle of the show. Because apparently she fainted backstage, so they had to stop the show. They rushed her to the hospital. She was out of the show that night and out of the show the next day. And she ended up being okay, but she released a statement. She was like, "This is no joke. Like, I was not taking my body very seriously. I was incredibly dehydrated. I was overexhausted, and I was not prepared for this. But
Gotcha.
I am now resting and ready to come back and know what it entails. But it's to have that type of like visibility of someone who is so famous at what they do say that this is really fucking
This
hard."
is no joke, right?
And like had to leave
So
the show in the
validating.
middle of it. Yes,
So
I'm like,
it's like,
yes,
yes, right,
yeah.
right. It's like,
We're not
yeah,
just, shuffling a buffalo and like,
right. Yeah, we're not just doing the Charleston here and
Right,
then like
exactly.
chilling. Yeah. I am so sorry. So early.
Yes.
I am. So I have to apologize. So earlier, when you said Moulin Rouge, I in my head I thought Mulan. So that's why I was like, oh, Disney. And you're like, no, bitch.
Great. No, I was like, it's not Disney, but I'll let it slide. It's fine. It's fine. I know you know.
That is why. That's what happened, Dan.
Listen, I saw Mushu up on that screen, and I said, I want to be that red dragon.
I was like, who is Megan Thee Stallion in Mulan? I'm like, who could that possibly?
Wait,
who could she
that is
possibly be playing?
Oh my gosh.
Oh god,
that's hysterical. I do want to see Megan Thee Stallion in Mulan.
Oh my brain.
Great.
Oh my brain! I mean, I think she'd be.
She
great
could be the stallion. She could be that horse.
Yeah, she could be.
Listen,
Megan the Stallion.
She could be the lover.
Literally.
She could sing Reflection. She could be whatever. Yeah.
Oh gosh! And so okay, so Boston Conservatory. So I wanted to ask a little bit about Great Gatsby and being on the show and working on it. So I did a little bit of. I just like very quickly. Looked into what were the themes of Great Gatsby. So my relationship with the story is from high school. Like I remember reading it in high school. And to be honest, I didn't really like anything we read in high school. Like I wasn't really, I read it. I don't know. Okay, fine. And I would like participate and whatnot, but I don't remember having any real connection to most of the literature I read in high school. And whether or not that says something about me or the curriculum is like a whole other conversation.
Right.
But I looked into the themes to like jog my memory of like, wait, what was the book like actually like about? What was the symbolism? What was it like actually discussing? And I wrote down the themes somewhere. Oh, so the themes, and this is by no means an exhaustive list, but
no, of course.
Here are some of the themes: pursuit of wealth, class divides, and an inability to capture the past. Yeah. When I read that, I was like, holy shit. I mean, talk about relevant. Talk about, and I just remember reading that, when I was doing research for doing the podcast with you and thinking, wow, that did not click with me when I was in high school. Like I wasn't thinking about that. I wasn't. Yeah. And I'm sure, I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm sure, there was some conversation about class divides, but obviously like as an adult, that is resonating with me more now. It just feels so culturally relevant. How has it been telling this story and with the state of how things are now? Like, is that something that's on your mind often when you're performing this particular story? Just like how, like, this is just so relevant right now. I'm just like wondering how you think about it in your own head.
I mean, it's such a universal story in the way that the themes are presented. But to be honest with you, it has to also confine in the capitalism box. So to take you on a brief journey, this show was developed like during the pandemic because the writers were approached by a Korean producer, Mr. Chun Soo Shin, who happens to love The Great Gatsby. It's his favorite novel. And I think kind of romanticizing the idea of the American dream and Americanisms in the United States kind of stayed with him. So the writers were approached during the pandemic to kind of come up with a couple of spec songs of like what it could sound like. Yeah, they did. He loved it, and it became bigger than they expected. They did a bunch of readings and industrial stuff, industry readings, and that I got involved in, I think, the very first reading or the second reading because I knew the director from a previous project who hired me as actually an assistant director, an associate director for the thing. So I was not involved in the cast whatsoever. And even from early on, I remember there being conversations about how are we going to adapt this in a way that is not beating people over the head with how heady and how intense these themes are, that is still commercially viable as a Broadway musical.
Right. Because it can be a little too on the nose and it can feel a little overwhelming when you're living in it, right? In real life, and then going to a show and having it in your face. It can feel very overwhelming. Just like
totally.
This is it's hitting too close to home. Like that vibe where you're like, I can't enjoy it now, or I'm having trouble enjoying it now.
And I think our creative team did a great way of still having the baseline, of course, symbolism in the show of what is important. And the writer of the book talks about all the time how the female characters in the novel, because it was written by a man, were very underdeveloped and they had no voices. And the novel, of course, is told completely through Nick Carraway's eyes. And the way that the women were treated in that particular novel was not great. F. Scott Fitzgerald was, I don't want to call him a misogynist, but I don't think he thought of women fondly in that way, especially women of that time and that era. So what she did is kind of expand their roles from the book and give them a voice. I don't know if this is correct, but like, I think there's very few times when just women interact in the novel. It's kind of like the Bechdel test, right? Like what she did is kind of expand on the tiny tidbits that they were given and make it into a song or make it into a scene and what women of this time were thinking. And they have the right to vote. They have independent thought now. They're still unfortunately beholden to what their husband wants or whatever, the men in their lives deem appropriate for them. But it's the way that the show expanded on these themes, kind of pushed the boundaries of like the box of like a commercial musical theater while also kind of like falling into the curtain of it, if that makes sense. So it kind of tried to break the molds, but it's like no one is dumb and the producers aren't dumb. Like it has to be palatable to everyone.
Right.
And I think that it's no, surprise. It's no shock to anyone. Like the reviews were out everywhere. Everyone hated our show. We were panned. We got a couple of good reviews. But because the novel is so quintessentially important to American literature and people are so precious about it. They had a lot of opinions. They're like, this show doesn't do anything. It's glamorizing the American dream. It's just a big raucous musical. One of the headlines from, I think it was Deadline I think it was Deadline. It was like, tap dance, you bootlegging tap dancers, tap dance. And I'll never forget that.
Damn.
But I was like, people really went in because they're taking their feelings for the novel and putting it into an adaptation of it that doesn't exist. Like the novel has never been done in this way before. It's been done as a play. It's been done as a movie, multiple movies. But something about this medium and that play really irked people in a way that they felt very passionately about. But at the end of the day, 2+ years later, we're still here. Because it's obviously resonating with people enough in a way that has these themes that were so paramount to the novel, but in a way that is still entertaining. Because I don't know about you, but when I go to the theater, when most average American families go to the theater, it's mostly a night of entertainment. If you're going to spend $100 on a ticket, you want to see a car, you want to see fireworks, you want to see some incredible singing and some tap dancing, and you want to get your money's worth. And I think the blending of the capitalism, commercialism of it, while also still pushing the themes of the book in a way that's not beating audiences over the head with it, is done brilliantly, in my opinion. And every show is flawed in a way. If we had more time or more money or XYZ, I'm sure things could have been developed in a different way. But I think baseline, the way that it's been perceived has kind of shifted now from when we first opened. And there's other adaptations that I think will be more gritty and crunchy granola. Like I know they're doing it in London over there. Ray J. John Page wants to be Gatsby in a play version of it in the UK. There's another musical. Like there's room for everyone.
Right.
But I think it's important to remember that this version of the musical exists only because it is a capitalist venture. People don't rarely make musicals anymore, producers, because they want to tell a story. It's so rare. Most people want to make money because that's the world that we live in. So you want to do something that blends your heart with your art so you can make money.
Yeah.
So I think that's what our version does well, regardless of how it was received, because the themes are eerily still relevant. Women being treated the way they are, women, having the right to vote and having a voice, rights being taken away, the pursuit of the American dream, lying about your heritage and where you came from and how you got here. It's all just too prescient.
All the themes, because they're so relevant, has me thinking like maybe these are universal, inherently human experiences. I mean, maybe not inherently human, but certainly inherently human in terms of like the culture now, right? Like I think if we just like gave everyone their rights and stopped trying to take any rights away, these wouldn't be relevant themes. But because of the world we live in, they do feel universal, and just like what it means to be a human being in today's world is reckoning and wrestling and struggling with these themes. For
that
sure.
Uncomfortability. I was talking to Patrick this morning. I tried to Google the term, but I don't know what it is. But not to get into politics, but to get into politics just a little bit. It's kind of the like climax before the fall, and there's like an actual term for it. But it's
extinction
almost
burst.
Yes. Thank you. Oh my God. That's the term. I was,
well, I mean, so it's because it's a mental health term. It's used in psychology all the time to study, like habits and behavioral changes and stuff like that. So yes. I am familiar with that. Yeah.
I think we're kind of in an extinction burst right now. And hopefully, I don't know if you feel that way, but
fingers crossed. Yeah.
We're getting the tweet that was just released yesterday. All this anyway, not to get into politics, but like I think we're in that point of time now where this is hopefully an extinction burst, where we're right in the middle of it or coming up to one where we'll all come on to the other side of it, hopefully a little bit better. But I mean, there's struggle happening now. There's more struggle to come, of course. But I hope we're all human enough to see that, taking it back to the show, these themes are still relevant to today. And I think we're all human enough that we agree, to your point, more often than we disagree, that everyone just wants a good life and to have a good, fine life and to have a good time and be able to afford their rent and protect their kids and, watch and say what they want and do it in a way that doesn't hurt anyone else. And hopefully this... Oh my gosh, I've been thinking about Extinction Burst for literally almost 30 hours, and I couldn't find it anywhere online. I kept saying,
I got you.
The end of power, and it was like, power generators in your area. And I was like, no, it's not electric, please, no.
No, it's behavioral. Like, God damn it.
When the power grid shut down, I was like, no, that's not what it is.
Oh, that's so funny. No, there's a lot of conversation around this being an example of extinction burst where the terrible behavior, there's like a boiling point where it reaches its peak sort of terribleness right before it starts to taper off. And there's a lot of think pieces that I think well done, well written, well spoken think pieces that have me thinking like, oh yeah, I can totally see that. And it's to your point, obviously the audience can see this, but you were like crossing your fingers. That's how I feel. I'm like, God, please, I hope that this is the case. And I think that is, the main word here is hope. I think that is, it's so important especially during times like this, to maintain and to cultivate a sense of hope. And I mean, like that's how you get through it, right? Is like together and with hope. The second you lose hope, that's when they win, right? Like that's what the folks on top want, is for us to lose hope so they can just sort of steamroll us. So
then you lose hope, but then you buy into the Chapel Roan argument, and then you start looking at the other news, and then you lose hope and you start watching the news about this, and you catastrophize everything because there's more money. Oh my God, I sound like a real tin hat conspiracy theorist about like how the media is controlling everything. I'm not. I'm not.
No, there is a lot of truth to what you're saying. It's like all the media outlets are owned by like 2 people or something insane like that. So no, there is a ton of truth to what you're saying. So Dan, one question that I ask every guest is, what is one piece of advice or wisdom that you've gotten from the therapy world that you live and or swear by? So this can be something you've learned in your own therapy. This could be something you read in a book or heard on a podcast or got from a friend. But what is one piece of wisdom of it or advice from the therapy world that you live by?
Yeah, when you sent me the question ahead of time, I was like, thank God, because I have time to think. But also, I kept thinking of like different things that I've learned through therapy or, self-help books or whatever it was. And I keep coming back to like one of the simplest ones that I learned from my therapist was, what if it all works out?
Oh, I love, speaking of hope. Yeah.
And
that's perfect.
It's so simple, but it kind of brings me back to myself because being a kid who was quiet and who was a very big rule follower and did things the way that I was expected to do them, yada, yada, yada. You can see where this is going. I tend to catastrophize things and I go to the worst possible scenario first because it's a protection method. It's the way that I protect myself. If I see it first coming to fruition, then no one can surprise me with the worst if I think about it first.
Right. So it's like a protective measure. It's like, I will protect myself from the pain of the worst outcome by kind of like desensitizing myself to it by thinking about it. That's the hope. That's the logic behind that, right? Yeah.
Exactly. And I never wanted those options to be a self-fulfilling prophecy. Right. But if I thought about them before they could even happen, then I was shielded in a way, even if they did happen. Right. And I expected it. I'd be, well, yeah, of course, because that was the worst possible outcome. Right. So I keep coming back to that, what if it all works out? Because if the worst possible scenario can happen, then we're also in a world where the best possible scenario can happen. And why do we tend to focus on the worst negative aspect of it rather than the possibilities of hope, of love, of acceptance, of, best day of your life scenario? Yeah. There's got to be a spectrum to it, right? It's not just a black and white. There's, grayness to it. But if the worst possible scenario can happen, then what if it all works out okay?
Yeah. What a lovely message of hope. And it's also, I think, touching on what we discussed earlier about rage bait and clickbait. And, I'd love to get to a place where hope made money or something, right? Like where hope sells, right? Where hope sold. And I think one of the reasons why it's easier to catastrophize, there's some neurobiological reasons, right? Like our brain is hardwired to like remember negative things more because once upon a time it was like more important for us to remember those berries are poisonous than it was to remember those berries were delicious. Taste good. Yeah, exactly. Right. The stakes were really high once upon a time. So neurobiologically, I understand that. I also think we're in this sort of like negative feedback loop where it is also easier to access. The second you pick up a phone and you log onto social media or you read the news, it is just so readily available to you. There's like the worst possible thing or terrible news or scary news. And I think it just like reinforces our tendency to try and protect ourselves by playing out the worst case scenario. And
absolutely.
And what a powerful, important reminder for everyone right now is to consider and to remember that the best possible scenario is also just as likely.
Yeah.
Right. And so I think that's so incredibly helpful. And the simple pieces of wisdom I tend to find are often the most impactful. Right. So something as simple as like, what if it all works out?
Yeah.
I love that. So beautiful.
Because it's a gentle reminder too. It's not like you have to stop thinking that way. You know, we're human and we will, and things happen where it's good that you thought that way because those berries were poisonous.
Yep.
But you know, like now in this day and age, like, oh, maybe the train will be on time, or you know, maybe they did like that presentation, or maybe this job interview was great.
Yeah.
You know, it's just like it's simple things, and it's a very like a kinesthetic trigger of like just shifting the mindset in an easy way that doesn't have to be, you know, I'm taking 10 deep breaths and then doing it 10 minutes of meditation, which is great too.
Which is
like,
great.
Just like a quick little, you know.
I appreciate the simplicity of what you're talking about. Just like a very simple, not necessarily easy, but a very simple mind shift. You know what I mean? And that's all it takes, right? To get the ball rolling or for there to be some kind of a snowball effect. I really appreciate that. I can tell you with near certainty that someone listening to this right now, it needs to hear that. I mean, I need to hear that for sure. So I can, again, almost guarantee you that someone listening to this also needed to hear that. So thank you so much. Again, thank you for, you know, taking the time. I know you're very busy being a Broadway star and all of that. But if you haven't, please go check out Dan and Great Gatsby. It was a wonderful show. The female characters were developed more. And I mean, I just thought it was just like beautifully done and entertaining and heartfelt and just like a fun, good time. So please check him out. Dan, where can folks find you if they want to stalk you or
folks? You can find me at the 53rd Street Whole Foods. No, I'm just kidding. You can find me at Dan Rosales on Instagram. I don't have X because, you know.
Oh, you don't even enough said,
girl.
Yeah. All right, folks. Well, as you know, I am a therapist, but this podcast is no substitute for good old fashioned therapy. So take what's useful, leave the rest, and don't forget, therapy makes you hotter. Bye.
Bye.